Alright, here's hoping that this ends up working and that no one's able to come and see it. They shouldn't be, but you know. First test runs could always go poorly. Anyway, the only people who are actually going to see this are you guys on London and Shanghai, so there's no real reason for me to bullshit. This time around, I will explain one part about this before going in. I realized that a part of the problem with my casting is that I'm so used to casting solo that I go very slowly with my points. When you cast with a partner, you usually get faster to the point because you don't want to interrupt the other, but because I'm not used to doing that, and I'm used to doing play-by-play and color, my casting is actually really slow compared to most people. So basically, I'm going to kind of sound like a bit of a schizophrenic and try and kind of act as though I'm two different people, one doing color and the other doing play-by-play, and act like I'm tossing between the two of them. So this is going to be weird, but, you know, I gotta try something to try and improve faster than I am. Anyway, we're good to go. Entering on a mirror. For some reason, it's a bit weird. It's like there's no game volume for me. That could be bad. Huh. Why is that? Hold on. Huh, that is weird. There's like no game volume for me whatsoever. Everything else is set up fine. I also have to set up that shit. Feels bad, man. So I basically have to for anyone who hasn't seen it already, this is the camera controls I use for basically watching everyone. Oh, did I miss one? What did I miss here? Triangle. That's the one I missed. There's a way to bounce in between that as well, and there was a way. Okay, so that does that easy. I need to be able to move between third-person camera. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I can do that. Oh yeah, game started, by the way. I guess I'm just doing it without audio. I'll check and make sure that this stream is even catching it right now. Streaming on YouTube is a bit fucking weird. Anyway, as for the play-by-play here so far, nothing really all that exciting going on right now. Kind of just picking at each other, a little bit of poking and prodding, but Powerplug will be the first to fall, so they have to retreat the side of Shanghai does. Yeah, it's really fucking annoying me that I'm not getting any sound here. I'm not sure why that is. There it is. Okay, I've got it now. Anyway, moving back onto the point. Equal trades are starting to come out here. The question is whether or not the fight will slowly start going in favor of Shanghai, but as one of theirs falls in the Brigitte and the enemy team's Hanzo gets rezzed back up into the fight, it's looking like it's going to be basically an impossibility. Back in the spawn doors, a few people kind of changing out to try and help their team, but with the Dragon Strike from Andy, that's basically going to be all for naught. Konout and Andy will both fall, but it's really not going to be enough. Too much damage has been done. London will have time to regroup, and the side of Shanghai will not. So it's going to be a full reset for both teams at the moment. Looking down here on the ground, Shanghai has now swapped Powerplug onto this McCree. Not a bad idea. He could get a quick fan the hammer one clip on someone if he just so happens to get the position. He sees Cone out, gets a He gets the stun, but that's all he finds. Meanwhile, back on the fight over here, Turbo Kermit trying to do his best to take out this healer, almost gets booped off the map. Turbo Kermit has to unleash his primal rage, tries to boop the enemy once in a way, and succeeds. Turbo Kermit now just kind of flailing about wildly. He doesn't really know where he should go to help his team, but he knows that he needs to start doing some amount of work. However, it looks like his team is starting to win the fight as the enemy squad has to run away. Turbo Kermit almost gets the kill onto the enemy McCree, but he manages to get the healing necessary in time. The side of Shanghai don't have any ultimates right now. They've either used all of them or swapped onto different heroes, so they're basically fighting from nothing, but they do get an early pick. Unfortunately, will be traded out, so it's not going to do quite as much as they'd like. Diva Bomb doesn't manage to find anything besides a DMEC, but this is still going in London's favor. It's just merely the fact that every single time that Shanghai gets a pick, they trade one out. And now, with some of their team behind the enemy, they could very easily be pushed on and staggered out here. It's going to be difficult for Mr. Assassin and the Lucio of, that's Mana, isn't it? I think it's Mana. It's going to be difficult for Mr. Assassin and Mana to get out. The main tank will fall. They're deciding to push in with this ultimate of the sound barrier, and it's not really going to do much of anything, but the team is still staying alive regardless. Crinkleton gets popped right out of his ultimate and fades into Andy's dragon, so he will go down as well. London, once again, taking the tide of this fight for themselves. It's as though Shanghai just can't even get a word in edgewise. Playing dive tanks on this map is so weird and such a tricky position to be in. You know, this is a map where you're holding this choke, so you want to usually play a Reinhardt or an Orisa. You barely see these tanks here, but the dive tanks are still winning the day. There's only 5 seconds left. Ultimates are coming out from both sides. So many popped from the side of London, but the question is if Shanghai will be able to finally get the final push that they need. Powerplug struggling to stay alive in a duel against Turbo Kermit. But the rest of his team is doing a lot better. We see here the kill feed filled with red and blue. Turbo Kermit will leap off the map. Shanghai will manage to cap the point right at the last second. They're going to get 4 more minutes. They really don't have the ultimates to take this point immediately, so they can't really snowball as you'd like to do on 2CP, but it's possible. If they manage to get Powerplug up top where he can use his Deadeye ult onto the point, and they have the protection of Mana's Lucio sound barrier, it might not be a terrible position for them. They're going to be pushing on to Turbo Kermit here. He has this this monkey ultimate if he wants to primal rage. The point is being capped at the moment. I'm not quite sure by who. It's Minikobe on the Tracer. Just kind of trying to stay alive, taking a bit of damage. Powerplug might be able to find at least one. There he goes. He finds the Brig despite her having the shield up for most of that charge. A tick has been captured, but a tick might be it. Powerplug will get faced by a dragon. That was probably a bit unnecessary from the side of London, but I think they're going to be ultimately okay with that. 3 minutes left to go. A tick already captured, so at the very least, even in the worst possible circumstance, Shanghai is going to be coming out of this in a not terrible position. Ultimates on both sides here. We see Mr. Assassin, Crinkleton having their ults, as well as Suck My Egg coming up upon his. Minikobe's probably going to go at point here and try and draw some people away, or just try and get free percentage. He's probably going to get a lot of this second tick, which is going to be really valuable. He's not going to get it, but again, look at how much progress he just made. So even if his team never ends up capturing the second tick fully, they just got a lot of free space because of Minikobe going in when the enemy team didn't expect it. Now, the rest of this fight is kind of playing out, and it's really not going too well in favor of Shanghai. They can pop ultimates here if they really think that they can win it. And Konal will get melted, as does his co-partner healer of Roddery. Now the ultimates are being popped from Shanghai. They think that this is the time, this is the moment, but they have to play into so many ultimates like that Coalescence. Ma trying to do his best against Andy, but not managing to find the shots, and Roddery will take him down. Despite the huge investment that Shanghai put in there, they're still going to eventually lose the fight. They do have 3 ultimates to their names going back into the next fight, but they're basically going to be playing against 5 from the enemy team. That's not a good position, or at least one that they want to be in at the moment. And Mr. Assassin does have a bit of an advantage in that if Shanghai went below ground, if they went through the main passageway, they could probably find a good shatter opportunity, but instead they're going to decide to do it up here. A bit weird, bit strange. Bomb doesn't get anyone, but the remake will find Mr. Assassin's Reinhardt. This fight is a bit all over the place. It's very scattershot right now, but the fight is still going in the way of London, as it always will in these types of flailing about situations. Now, Mr. Assassin basically wasted his ultimate there. He did get the trans for a trade, so he's going to be happy about that. But for the most part, he would have rathered hold on to that, I think. I'm pretty sure that would have been a good idea for Mr. Assassin and the rest of the team to go through the bottom and just try and take point up front. Force the enemy team to come down onto them into the Shatter and the Graviton. But they are determined to try and find a way out through this opportunity, through going up top, and kind of, again, look at this scattered method that they have. They're all over the place. Ryan was way over there on the left side of the point. The rest of his team, Power Plug, was flanking around the side. Like, there's just no solid push here, and that's the reason why they're not going to be able to take this in the end. Powerplug manages to find one, but that's going to be it. He's going to get in a cursory touch to push it into overtime, and as will Mitakobe, also going onto the point, but after he used the recall, it surprised me if he didn't get melted just about immediately. They're not going to be able to find any kills, even in the best of circumstances, and now they have to try and do it through that Transcendence. It's going to be even harder. Yeah, these kills are just going in the favor of London. It's absolutely impossible for Shanghai to take it at this point. So London, really this whole time, has just shown that even playing these tanks, which I would say that playing this tank line on Hanamura is the worst tank line for this map. Like, this is a good Orisa map. This is a great Reinhardt map. But dive tanks are weird. Dive tanks theoretically lose in this situation pretty badly, especially because of the fact that Mr. Assassin was on that Reinhardt. The reason being that with Mr. Assassin on the Rhine, it basically gives him free shatters, right? Because the only bubble that can stop the Earth Shatter ultimate is the bubble from the monkey, which is on incredibly long cooldown, is very easy to burst, and as long as you can force out the bubble and then find an opportunity to shatter, you basically win the team fight. But every single time, that wasn't what happened. Mr. Assassin instead opted to go for an ambitious ultimate onto the enemy at the staircase. Mr. Assassin, like, as much as I want to blame the team as a whole for seeming kind of uncoordinated in that situation, it is also pretty fair to say that a lot of the time when things went very poorly, it seemed to be Mr. Assassin making the first big mistake, or being the one who was so far away from his team every time. We are going to get to see Powerplug on the Bastion and Mitakobe on the Mei. It's not a bad DPS line for this map. You can wall off the choke point and gun down the enemy as they approach as the Bastion. Appears they're also trying to take a quick elevator trip up onto the high ground, but they don't manage to do it. The placement of the wall was kind of in an awkward position, it seems. And still these dive tanks coming in from the attacking side. Triple support and a Hanzo. They're going to be diving right onto this Bastion, but it's actually going to be London who find the first pick onto Mitakobe. Powerplug realizes things are a bit shaky right now. If the Hanzo would have just turned and seen where he was, it's very possible that Powerplug would already be dead, but instead, Shanghai will be the ones taking the victory on the first fight. Yeah, looking at this ult charge on both sides, it's pretty clear cut that Shanghai basically won that in a complete and utter massacre. A lot of their team are about 50% ult charge. A lot of the enemy team have about an average of 30, maybe 35. However, Powerplug hasn't moved whatsoever, so the enemy team is going to know exactly where to go to try and deal with them. Ma tries to put down a Bionade and hit someone with the purple, but it's not going to do much of anything. However, the walled-off teammates of the side of London are going to struggle quite a lot here. They try to get the kill onto Powerplug. It's just not going to be enough, and now he has free reign to just gun in through this window. Deciding to use tank configuration, maybe his team is calling that things are getting a little bit out of control. I would have saved it for a later fight, but Powerplug's decision ultimately was that now was the time to use the ultimate. His team isn't going to be struggling though. Basically all of them have their ultimates except Minakobe, who's usually been the first to die in basically every single one of these fights. Minakobe is actually in a bit of a weird position now. If he takes a full charge Hanzo arrow, whether it's headshot or not, he will die with that exact health amount. He's in, yeah, a bit of an awkward and exposed position. The dive is finally coming through here, but the purple diva, Cybersaurus already being deceased, the dragon will manage to find two, and actually the rest of the team, despite losing numbers so quickly, will come back around and do a lot of damage. Cybersaurus is going to get cut, sliced right through. Now Powerplug is going to try and shoot onto this point and get any damage he can, but Hanzo is such a good counter to Bastion. He puts out so much burst damage, especially on a stationary target, so quickly and so efficiently. Speaking of efficient, London's going to be looking to take this next fight as fast as they can. They're coming up on some ultimates, but the only one they really have is Konaud's Mercy ult. They're going to be trying to aggress onto Powerplug's Bastion, but they don't really focus him, so he's just going to be able to slice through them as well. Zen, the only one to actually take shots at him, but the Mercy is going to be a bit of an awkward place, and Powerplug will do a lot of the damage, but it's going to be his team who get the kill. Powerplug dueling Andy, and he will go down. Again, Hanzo is so powerful at just doing that huge amount of burst damage, and now Minakobe is in a bit of a poor position. The enemy team is all going to surround him. He might want to Blizzard in order to save himself if things get a bit hairy. Did he see the Tracer? He didn't see the Tracer blink right past him to go behind him. But now Powerplug is respawned, and he can get into a position to do a lot of damage here while the enemy team doesn't quite expect it. He'll get taken out really fast. In fact, that's the story of the entire Shanghai line there. Just taken out in the blink of an eye. Andy doing a lot of damage. Andy basically ensuring the eliminations onto the Bastion. Very unfortunate for Shanghai, especially because they still had a lot going for them. They still had Minakobe with his Blizzard ultimate. If only they had been able to stay alive a little bit longer, if only Minakobe hadn't pushed out ahead of the rest of his team. But no, instead we're going to be seeing this result as London take map 1 and get all 4 cards. Isn't that depressing for Shanghai? You hate to see it. You hate to see it. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and check whatever the next map was. Normally I'd have it like written down, but again, this doesn't really matter. The only people who are gonna be watching this are you guys anyway. Nepal. Nepal. Nipple. Alright, I'm pretty sure that we're still good to go. Let me check something. Nepal's the next one, we're ready. Yeah. Okay, so everyone says that they're ready. Let's go. Okay. Alright. Nepal. It's a good map. I like it. A lot of opportunities, a lot of different situations for one map. This one is probably one of the fairest ones. You can play a lot of things here. Fair is really strong. Spam heroes in general can spam onto the point, or you can run just a solid tank line. Composition like staying really close together and try and engage as a unit and just stay on the point and try and shove the enemy team off. Usually that's more of the GOAT strategy, and it's looking like both teams, if they decide to keep their current lineups, are basically going to be going with a sort of GOATs comp or GOATs comp variant. Currently London is running a GOATs comp, at least in their spawn doors. And Shanghai looks like they're considering running quad tank and what basically amounts to 2 main healers. Lucio is not technically a main healer, but I kind of consider him one after his latest buffs. It's looking like, yes, the 2 teams will be running one with goats and one with quad tank. Should be interesting to see what the situation becomes as they approach each other on the point. Mr. Assassin and the enemy Ron going in for pins. Mr. Assassin managing to find some damage onto Wesley. That's going to be about it. He will be taken out, gets caught out by the enemy team, and as the first begins to fall, it's so important to get the first pick and focus fire down one enemy in these moments, because now, such a poor position for Shanghai. They don't have a shield tank, so they can just take as much damage as possible. The shield does return, but not before the point gets captured, and if you're London, you're pretty happy about this situation right now. Another first pick onto a Shanghai member. Again, not a great place for them to start in. Also not a great place for them to be so spread out from each other. 2 tanks are over here on the point, but the rest of the team is over here still at the choke. Minikobe accepting his fate. The Roadhog is just going to try and escape with his life. He gets a hook onto Cybersource, but that's about all she wrote. Powerplug won't die, but doesn't mean that his team is any better off at the moment. Looking at ultimate, Shanghai has clearly done quite a lot of damage and conserved quite a lot as well. Both of their supports have their ultimates ready, and they're coming up on every single tank ult as well. They have their Graviton out as well as the sound barrier, but the counter barrier, the counter ultimates are all coming through basically at the same time. So many ultimates are being used right now. It's a real splatfest at the moment. Who will be the first to fall? Who will be the first to die? The Diva Bomb might find someone, but it just doesn't manage to. The Brigitte protects herself. Hog is trying to find something with his ultimate, but Andes has basically won the fight for his team by taking out both of the enemy supports. That's going to be Shanghai losing yet another fight here. Minikobe is kind of letting himself get stalled out. Most of the time, the play there, if you're Minikobe, is to try and run off the map, but he decided to just kind of stand there. Powerplug now on the Reaper instead of the Roadhog. They have to go in. It's only that's 93% to 0 right now, so they have to win this fight. It's not a strong start as they lose their main tank to begin. Shanghai still falling. It's currently a 4v6 situation, and they're not doing well off. Now a 3v6. It's looking like Shanghai are going to be the losers on this map at the moment. Minikobe just trying to stay alive for as long as it can, but it's all for naught. Unfortunate for the side of Shanghai, losing the first map and now losing the first of the 3 control maps. It just kind of seems very clear that the GOAT's composition just does so much better at sustaining than something like the quad tank. Really, the quad tank comp, first off, if you're going to run it with Hog, depends so much on a good Hog hook, which, considering Hog's current state, it's kind of a risky thing to depend on. But they've decided to change up strategies. They're now running something a little bit more standard. 2 main healers, 1 Mercy to pocket Powerplug. they're kind of hoping that the enemy team runs this GOATS composition because FAR is a pretty well-known counter, or at least possible counter, if you can manage to hit enough rockets, especially onto the weaker members of the team. I was going to be hanging down a little bit low here, trying to shoot in some spam damage, and this time Shanghai are going to be the first to find a kill, but now both teams' shield tanks are down. Powerplug manages to find two supports, but the point has already been capped for the side of London, so now it's just going to be a little bit of a stall fest as London tries to accrue as much objective time as they can before finally being shoved off the stage. Finally, at the cost of maybe an ultimate that was better saved for later, Shanghai will actually take the point. Now, considering all the time that London is going to have to spend reconvening with each other, I think it's pretty fair to assume that Shanghai is going to at least catch up and probably surpass their percentage by quite a bit before this next fight even begins. They're going to be pushing into Powerplug and Suck My Egg, having both these ultimates that can combo together. It'll be a little bit of a risky decision, though, to try and do that. Nice flick from Powerplug, and now he's going back around, slams from just meters away the entire enemy line. Still ultimates used there, like from Crankleton, which really absolutely didn't end up being necessary. Probably a bit of a jump of the gun call there. They're probably going to wish that they had that support ultimate going into this next fight, but we look over at London and we see here that they're not just staggering necessarily. They have Andy on this McCree. They know that they need him to counter this FAR. Gets 3 hits onto her, will manage to secure the kill, and for some reason the Mercy res doesn't actually end up going through. I don't think that she was stunned, she just decided to cancel it. Shanghai isn't going to even need their FAR though, as the picks are all going in their favor. Mr. Assassin does get taken out by, well, I'll call a bit of a lucky charge, but with a little bit of help from the Battle Mercy, Minicobe will fall, or Minicobe will take out Turbo Kermit. We're seeing some odd choices here, I'll say. Turbo Kermit, pretty well known for being a Lucio main, but instead he's on the main tank. A bit of an interesting decision here. Okay, alright, 3k pulse bomb, so that's a fight win, that's the point win. So Shanghai wins this map. There's really nothing that you can do about that, unless somehow Wesley manages to stall for an insane amount of time and he's already dead and buried. This is going to be Shanghai evening it up 1-1. And now London is going to be a bit of an interesting decision, considering the map that we're about to go to next is one where heroes such as Lucio are going to be so vital. Do they put Turbo Kermit on this Lucio, considering his ability to boop the enemy off of the map, or do they instead keep him on this main tank and hope that Conan will instead be the one to rise to the occasion? Most teams on this map do prioritize a strategy of heroes that can boop the enemy team into the valley and the pit. It's not a bad strategy, and we kind of see that here. Shanghai, in a bit of an interesting play, they're okay. It looked like they were running two main tanks, but no. Instead, they've put Minicobe onto the Brigitte. Powerplug sees that Hanzo and wants to take him out real fast, misses the punch, and now they're both kind of just staging around each other. Andy will eventually win that fight. Good first pick for London's side. It gets evened up by Mana managing to push Cybersaurus off of the map. Suck My Egg also really weak, but no one's finishing him, even though he's discorded. No one's managed to cap the point yet, but I think it's pretty fair to say that this fight is slowly going in London's favor. Turbo Kermit does get taken out by Powerplug, so that's going to be a little bit less in their favor. Powerplug also manages to get on before the point capture goes through, but he has to escape for his safety. Shanghai probably just wants to retreat right now. There's no way that they can manage to take this when they don't have their main healer. So it'd be better off if they just perhaps ran back a little bit, but instead they're staying here in a pretty dangerous position, but Powerplug manages to get a quick kill onto Conan, and now he's going in deep. He wants more, but his bloodlust will be a little bit too much for the enemy team's liking. Diva Bomb manages to find Suck My Egg, even though he was fortified. London having a pretty dominant showing so far. Every single time that Shanghai manages to find any sort of momentum, it gets stopped immediately. Really good focus fire from them, especially a lot from Andy. Andy's doing a very good job as a DPS so far for London. He's doing a really good job of winning these sort of individual fights and just getting a lot of damage down as a whole, but Minikobe's tired of it. Minikobe goes behind him and gets the kill before the enemy can even understand what's happening to him. Minikobe still shooting from the back. No one really seems to either know that he's there or think that it's their job to stop him. The fight is still going in Shanghai's favor, and they're finally looking to try and capture the point. It's going to be neat to see if anyone actually manages to get on to contest, and someone does. It's going to be a bit of a slugfest here now, as enough time has passed that respawns are starting to come in. Suck My Egg is going to get booped off of the map. A really good pick for London, one that they needed with all the kills that are currently not going in their favor. It's going to be London still kind of struggling though. This is Shanghai's point. Shanghai has gotten it. Better to just leave well enough alone, and they seem to understand that. Wesley also falls into the pit. This is going to be the side of London regrouping, ready to go in again. They have 4 ultimates to their name against the 0 ultimates of the opposing side. Minikobe is the only person who might come up on his at some point soon. But he needs to be in a good position for it. He seems to kind of expect that they'll go to the left, but he was incorrect. Now he's hanging down a little bit below the pit. He doesn't have a healer, so he's not going to get anything done before he himself falls. Andy also getting this dragon, killing one, using a storm arrow, killing another. Andy, you monster. Despite the slight amount of progress that Shanghai managed to make, it's still going to ultimately be more and more progress made for the London side. That fight was basically over as soon as Minikobe died and didn't have the pocket to heal him. With him gone, the only ultimate that could have turned the tide was also deleted. Now Powerplug's getting really aggressive here, and I do mean really. If he had just been picked off there without any support from his team, it would have been bad news bears, but now Powerplug is getting really aggressive here with a little bit more support from his team. We see the ultimates coming through. Someone finally touches. Shanghai almost C9, considering that this fight is still going their way. Slamming Konal into the wall is Powerplug. Now also looking for revenge on Andy. Not going to find it, but the rest of his team seemingly will. They almost C9 again. Shanghai, you have to capture this point before you can leave it. It's in overtime. Turbo's doing a really good job of just kind of staying alive, being a bit of a pest, but ultimately it amounts to very little. His team was already at 99% for quite a long time there, so all that really did was give more time for Shanghai to get some ult charge off of him. Suck My Egg in a bit of a vulnerable position, but he will get healed by both of the main healers, so not a bad place to start from. Powerplug also takes out Andy before this fight even begins. Andy was on a bit of a flank, tried to make a hero play. He's not going to find it. He will get rezzed by Konal, but the rest of the team is dying. The rest of the team, fair to say, dead. Still kind of a bit of weird level of aggression coming in from the side of Shanghai, though. They seem to be kind of split up, or at least they were. But now they've moved on to the point. They know what their objective is. They know how to save themselves. Despite trying to hide from the bomb, Mana will still die to the Tracer. This fight is going London's direction. They're managing to find these picks. Or this fight's going Shanghai's direction. This is going to be the last fight, and Powerplug just so happens to mess up trying to find a bit of sanctity. Doesn't look like Shanghai's even going to be able to touch. The fight went on for long enough that despite all the picks and all the progress that they made, it's going to be yet another win for London. It just seems like the sort of moral of the story every single time is that Shanghai is winning, and then they either don't win fast enough, or they wait so long, or they just don't manage to do enough to the point where the enemy team has time to come back. See, plays like that, where they managed to get team wipes, were the moments when they really shined. But when you can't do something like that, it appears that Shanghai struggles in general with actually ending fights, with actually being able to focus down targets. I mean, just keep in mind how long Turbo Kermit was able to stay alive on the point, despite A, not having a healer, and B, being the monkey, who is the second biggest hero in the game. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the third map. King's Row is next. Okay. To Kings we go. Looks like basically everyone is still ready. Even if they aren't, we just pause it. I guess Skylex is permanently on the bench. Feels bad, Sky. We go into Kings. Now, this is... It's kind of like, I like Shanghai as a team and as an idea. And I think that... So when Shanghai won their first map of 4-0, it's not like that was a mistake. It's not like that was a fluke. They have a lot of potential as a team. They're all individually very skilled players. Minakobe, Mr. Assassin, Suck My Egg, Power Plug, all of them have a lot of these moments, these instances where they manage to really kind of show that they're top tier players for at least this level of play. However, despite them proving that over and over again, it just never really amounts to map wins recently. And I have to assume that the reason that is because Shanghai they come up with these ideas for compositions, and they come up with like, well, wouldn't it be cool, or wouldn't it be fun or wouldn't it be effective theoretically if we played quad tank Lucio Moira, because then that makes us very fast, we have a lot of healing, and we have a lot of sustain because we're all tanks. But then they don't take into account that in reality, when you do something like that, and then when you go into these games, you're playing against specific comps. So, that's why that composition loses so thoroughly to Goats, because Goats is literally that composition, the idea behind that composition, but better. So, Shanghai almost kind of trying to reinvent compositions that already exist, but making worse versions of them. Power Plug on this Bastion, he's going to have the position up top. He's going to try and be a bit of a surprise, but it's such a long distance, he's not going to be able to do anything substantial. Crankleton somehow kills Cyber. Okay. However, the trade will come through as Suck My Egg gets taken out, really mostly by a surprise pin from Turbo Kermit. Power Plug, without his shield, will also fall to the side of Roddery. Roddery's doing a lot of work so far on this Zenyatta, and I don't think it can really be fairly ignored. See, he's checking up top in case anyone decides to swap back onto the Widow. He also harassed Mana on the Widow before, forcing him to swap off. He managed to do a lot of the damage to close out the blow, to close out the kills on both Power Plug and Suck My Egg earlier. Roddery's doing a really good job here on the Zenyatta. Getting what I'll mainly call kind of a lucky kill onto Mana, though. Minakobe looked like he was kind of trying to charge in. Now Power Plug is going for a little bit of a flank. It looks like they're afraid that the enemy team knows where they are, so they've set up in this turret configuration. Bit of a weird place for them to be. And Crankleton will help secure the kill on Cybersaurus. So that's numbers for them. Now Power Plug coming up. He has a bit of a flanking position, but again, Roddery, a thorn in his side. That's a dragon in his face, though, and it's going to force him to reposition, even if it doesn't get the kill. Power Plug's just struggling to find any value here. No matter where he looks at, no matter who he targets, they're always falling away from his position, or they're always getting mega healed, or he's getting forced out. And now he gets melted immediately by the Hanzo. Despite doing so much damage to that Rhine, still nothing substantial coming out of it. Cybersaurus finally getting a bit of revenge on Crankleton, the support who has killed him twice too many times. Now Turbo Kermit, I think he was going for a shatter play, a bit of a flanking shatter, but the enemy team spotted him out first. London still gets a first kill on a Mr. Assassin though, so Turbo Kermit's gonna be okay with probably getting found out. Although the question is if Shanghai will even recognize what he was doing in the corner. Oh, they saw that. They saw that coming, but even through the Graviton, Powerplug manages to keep this a fairly even fight. A shatter onto only one individual. Turbo Kermit looking to fall to Crankleton. Crankleton, stop this. Cease. Okay, Powerplug's now on Genji. He's decided that after so long, the Bastion play just wasn't working, and Roddery will still find the kill on him and another individual. Roddery, cease. Roddery being just as effective of a DPS as Andy is, despite Andy actually playing the strongest damage hero in the game, I would argue. And it's just, what do you do here if you're Shanghai? What do you do in a situation where you're basically playing against 3 really competent DPS who completely shut down your strategies and who are always aware of when you try to pull shit like a flanking Bastion or a Widow Sniper? Cybersaurus now going in for a bit of a duel against this Mercy, and Mercy finally decides to go back to healing the rest of her team. It's going to be all for naught. With only 7 seconds left, it's looking like this is going to be Shanghai not even managing to capture a single tick of the first point. Powerplug flailing about, tries to survive for as long as he can, but it looks like the Shanghai team know. This is the end of the road for them. And now it's going to be on to London. 4 minutes to capture a single point. That's not a bad place to be, especially when you've been proving for so long that you're so capable of winning at least one fight over the course of this next 4 minutes. I also feel like a big part of the problem here is when teams play against Shanghai. When teams play against Shanghai, they know them as the team that has the Powerplug Bastion. They know this, right? Now, I kind of like that Shanghai recently became a bit of a team that sort of brought in the advent of the triple dive tank meta to the AHC. I liked that because I thought it was consistent and interesting. But most teams know them as the team that runs Powerplug on this Bastion. Powerplug markets himself as the Bastion one-trick of the league. However, if you're going to be so well known for being Bastion, you're going to lose a lot of the power that comes with a Bastion. Bastion's strength mostly comes from his surprise ability, right? The ability of a Bastion to just completely come out of nowhere, take the enemy team by surprise, maybe in the first fight get an almost complete team wipe on the enemy, and get a lot of ult charge, and then if things get bad, he got so much ult charge that now he has his tank configuration to win the next fight. Bastion is a bit of a snowball hero, but when the enemy team knows what to expect, they're just going to run things that counter Bastion really badly, like a Zenyatta and a Hanzo, who together basically make Bastion impossible to play. Shanghai is in a bit of an interesting position here. They've decided to kind of cede control of the point for so long. They wanted to get the positioning for Mana to toss down that Bionade, and it's not a bad idea. It actually netted them quite a lot in the way of kills, but they're still not going to be able to touch the point before it still goes the way of London. I actually think that was a really good idea. I think that London just, I think that Shanghai just executed it with the wrong composition and with Mana in the wrong place. So I think Mana should have actually been in the other window, farther to the right, because that would have given him a better sight line and a better angle to throw both the Bionade onto the enemy team and also have sight lines to heal anyone who he might need to. So I think that a few ideas behind that, and then just playing Power Plug at all there was a bit weird. But if you're going to play the Bastion, at least play him on the perch and have him hide on the staircase and then jump out when the team is already on the point. They don't really expect him to be there. I think that a lot of kind of minute decisions are what caused the side of Shanghai to fail in what I actually think is a really interesting strategy. Like, that strategy theoretically counters goats if you can just find the right timing and the right placement. Going on to Watch Point Gibraltar next. Now, Watch Point Gibraltar is very much so a map that suits Shanghai's strong suits. You can play Bastion on it to a lot of success because he has a lot of really good sightlines, and much like most payload maps, Bastion has the ability to steamroll the enemy. It also suits them really well because of their triple dive tank strategy that they sometimes are willing to run. This map favors dive tanks and tanks with a lot of mobility so much that wouldn't be such a bad call. But I think that as a whole, the problem that Shanghai has been facing for so long is, first, clearly that a lot of the enemy teams expect them to run this Bastion, so they prepare for it. And second, that Shanghai, if they want to run this Bastion, they need to find some way to improve the strategy. Right? They need to find some way to evolve their idea behind how Bastion should be played, because so far Bastion is kind of the linchpin of their attacks. Right? He is the thing of which everything else basically depends on. But I think that's a mistake. I think that Bastion should mainly be maybe a distraction, or maybe just something that zones out the enemy. So specifically on Kings Row right then. So they decided to have Mana up top in the window. Yes? Why wasn't Bastion also up there? If Bastion was up there, especially if they anticipated playing against goats, no one would have been able to reach him, really, unless they went alone and it was D.Va. No one would have been able to reach him, really. He would have had clear sight lines to shoot down onto everyone and the point. So again, I think it's just these small decisions that Shanghai just needs to make to improve their play overall. Both sides are running dive tanks, which again is really strong for this map. Mana almost dying, he needs to grab a health pack. But the first two casualties will fall. Andy takes out two. Both headshots. Headshot onto Suck My Egg. And with the help of Cybersaurus, they're going to be able to secure the kill on a Minute Kobe as well. Andy, the round has barely even started yet. Only a little bit past 30 seconds, is already proving to be really effective, at least right in this moment. He saw the Winston, so he knows exactly where he is. Taking some pot shots, will get taken out by Suck My Egg immediately. Andy was a little bit too careless, standing very still in that situation. That allowed him to be very quickly headshot. Now Suck My Egg trying to do a lot more damage. Minikobe now in a bit of a duel, kind of by himself. He will fall for it. Power Plug struggling to get a kill onto the baby D.Va, or at least some damage. I think he decided against it to just leave her in the baby form until his team finally decided it was time to take her out. Now Power Plug is still kind of struggling here. He hasn't landed a shuriken in quite a fair amount of time. Turbo Kermit getting really aggressive with this ultimate. I don't even think that he was at all close to being low on health. He just decided that it was time to go wild. Tracer there, a little bit of harassment. Tracer does a really good job just melting the Winston. He's not prepared to deal with her if he doesn't have support. But finally he is receiving that. Power Plug taken out by a Venom Mine. I just wanted to highlight that because that's pretty embarrassing. Mana is still just kind of freaking out here. He decided to ult into a fight where his team had basically lost most of their numbers already. And now this is just going to be... Shanghai just want to reconvene here. They just want to get group to back up. And going into this next fight, they'll have Power Plug with the Dragon Blade, so I guess he's been hitting a few more shurikens than I've seen. That's going to be about it. Crinkleton will also have his ultimate, and they have a numbers advantage to start with. Question is, will Konal go for the res? It doesn't look like he will until finally decides to do it basically the last second. Now Power Plug, he just draws this blade. He knows that he might be able to find a little bit of value, but if he doesn't draw it soon, Rodri is going to get the Transcendence ultimate. Although it's basically all for naught anyway, as the Brigitte armor comes out. So now Power Plug, even if he pulls out the blade, gets so hard countered by what the enemy team is running. Hanzo getting bug zapped on the ground. And this is just Shanghai as a whole having such major issues compositionally, seemingly in the form of being able to focus targets. That okay. Somehow Ma didn't get that kill. I have no idea what just happened. But 3 ultimates still for Shanghai, playing into the 2 of the opposing side. Really 3, Andy has popped his Infrasight. Power Plug will finally decide that now is it. Now is the time to pull out the blade, but he has to retreat in order to run away from the bomb. He's going to go hacking, slashing, trying to find the Diva. Manages to get a little bit of damage, but that's about it. The rest of his team is falling. Shanghai is going to not capture first here, unless they manage to either stall or find a major turnaround. They don't really have the ultimates to do it. Mr. Assassin has this bomb. If he manages to find a little bit of value from it, but it doesn't even do enough damage to get a D-Mech. Andy up top is still just going to have an absolute fest shooting into the fish in a barrel on the ground. Shanghai not managing to even get it to first. No, someone told me Turbo. Okay, so Turbo told me a pause at some point, but West came back fast enough anyway. I mean, I assume that if West never like picked anything or just didn't show up, I would have known to have paused. Hopefully, but if I didn't, then I didn't. Oof. Now, what does Shanghai play on their defense here? This is a map that again is so strong for Shanghai. They've just always done so well here, but for some reason, even now, they're having such a rough go of it, not even managing to get really all that close to capturing first. They managed to get almost there, but this wasn't even within about 10 meters or so. More dive tanks on the side of Shanghai, and they're going to be running what I think is a pretty effective duo of Power Plug on the Sombra and Mr. Assassin on the Tracer. I think this is a powerful duo because the Tracer can hide and the Sombra can stealth and just kind of pick out individual targets and both attack them at the same time, which does a lot of burst damage. In fact, I think they can probably melt Zen almost instantly if they just kind of abuse that strategy. Now, Power Plug will be well suited to try and deal with Cybersaurus, assuming he runs this Bastion. The rest of the team is kind of staging over here for a bit of a dive early as well. But do they recognize what they're going to be diving onto? In fact, it's going to be a little bit weird to start out because they want to dive over there, but yeah, Cybersaurus doesn't know where the hell they are. Finally sees them towards his left. Only managing to do a little bit of damage. Really, Andy is going to be the one who finds the first kill. The numbers are still pretty even, but yeah, the numbers are still just even. What a mess of a fight. I don't even know how to cast that. How do you cast a fight that's going on everywhere at once? Ultimately, it's just going to be the side of Shanghai somehow, mainly off of the fact that Cyber managed to find any value for so long. Shanghai is going to manage to actually hold really close to their spawn doors, but now Shanghai are the ones who are falling as both their main tanks go down. They don't have a res, and even if they did, it'd be way too deep in enemy territory. Power Plug's getting a bit aggressive. He probably wants to find some ult charge, but he'll have to phase right out. Mr. Assassin also just kind of stuck in the back line. Tries to delay the push of the cart, but dies immediately. So all he delays is how quickly he'll be able to get back to his team. Mana dying alone. No one on his team to support him. Bit of an interesting D.Va Bomb strat that managed to find 2 in a D-Mech though. It was a bit planned. They wanted the monkey to distract, I suppose. But it's still going to be a really poor position for Shanghai. With the fall of the Sombra, it's going to be Shanghai who lose in a 4-0. It was an interesting play though. It managed to get them quite far, but it still didn't get the results that it needed. And you hate to see it. You hate to see it. Do love to see that Suck My Egg managed to get that play of the game, not off of a D.Va Bomb or anything, off of the back purely of just murdering. 7 votes. Unfortunately, too many of people have voted for him to now get 10, the legendary 10 votes for the golden border. This is looking to be about it. Yeah. It seemed, you know, obviously I'm not going to do an interview for a scrim, so, yeah, it's looking like, ultimately, London did pretty well. Rotary is a monster. Andy did well. Turbo Kermit can flex. Cybersaurus is good. Wesley was there. So London just all around really strong. And Shanghai showing that the longer that this season goes on, the longer that the season has gone on, the worse off they have been. Unfortunate for them. I'm pretty sure. Do you want to play Oasis? Okay, alright. So I guess that we'll do Oasis then. I'm just going to assume that they're ready. I didn't ask if they were. But again, I just kind of assume. I have to imagine that Shanghai just want to see if they can try and piece together what they need to be doing. What they've been doing wrong. And I think, again, a lot of it just comes down to you can run meme strats, right? You can run meme strats and you can run them well and you can do good on them. But if kind of the core of your team is meme strats, which Shanghai basically is, if the core of your team is meme strats, you need to either A, be really good at those meme strats, or B, you need to be able to constantly be changing the meme strats in some way. Like, the meme strats only work because they're unpredictable. The meme strats do not do their job because, haha, Bastion is secretly a really powerful hero. No. Bastion is a very weak hero, both on paper and in reality. The only way that he can find strength is if you find ways to innovate with him. It's looking like Powerplug want to go up this side flank, but that's exactly into the loving arms of the rest of the enemy team. Cybersaurus will hook Bastion off of the map along with him. And we don't need to talk about that, Minikobe. Turbo Kermit, for some reason, got the credit for that kill. Shanghai, again, going to lose this first point capture. It's going to be an easy take for London to start the game off. Powerplug trying to do a little bit of damage now. He sees a lot of the fighting going on the right side, so he'll move to the left. Again, still no shield tank, so he's going to be slowly chipped away at. But now he slowly chips away at the large rotundness of Cybersaurus on the Roadhog. So much damage by Suck My Egg being done. I didn't highlight it because Power Plug was doing his thing, but Suck My Egg has really opened up this point capture for the side of Shanghai. And now Power Plug, managing to actually surprise the enemy team, gets 2 eliminations very quickly. This is what I mean. When you come at the enemy team from a really surprising position and also have your team attacking from what's considered the front line, you're in a really good position to actually get good work done. Now this is a dangerous idea. He doesn't have any support from his team, but he chooses to go in anyway, and now his team have to support him off of the back of that. It still manages to find the kills and win this next fight before it even begins, but so much had to be invested in order to save Power Plug from a kind of reckless flank. And now he might all be for naught as he gets hooked out of turret configuration. So much healing will basically mean that he's fine though, and now he's going to try and melt Cybersaurus. Will succeed. Bit of a misplay from Cyber though, trying to Roadhog ult onto a Bastion. Never really works out too well. Bastion will be rezzed again, and now it looks like Shanghai is finally getting in a bit of a dominant position here. Cybersaurus is now going to be on the hamster ball, and that's a terrible idea. Bastion melts through him immediately unless you have really good maneuverability. Power Plug getting very aggressive here, goes ahead and finds the... We don't need to talk about that, Power Plug. It's going to open the door now for London to finally take the point back. They want to execute off of this. They have so much mobility, so much strength theoretically, and they're just not using it. They're just not pushing in. They need to deal with Suck My Egg first. He knows that he's been the real thorn in their side for this entire round so far. Power Plug will eventually rejoin his team. London's playing quad tank with the Lucio and the Moira. Basically exactly what the enemy side had played before them. They're actually managing to find some success this time around, trading the Roadhog that the enemy side played for the more versatile hamster ball this time around. Power Plug was in a good position to do quite a lot of damage there, but for some reason he just wasn't able to confirm the kills. Mr. Assassin has this Graviton Surge. Shanghai can just manage to win one more fight. They'll be able to take this map and actually have an advantage for the first time in this series. Rez comes in onto the Reinhardt. Bit of an odd decision. They're so close to their spawn. Before the fighting even begins, they decide to use that. They decide to use Sound Barrier, and the Graviton gets eaten. Power Plug shooting in from the side, manages to do really just chip damage. That's about it. He decides to go tank configuration, wants to find the Moira, but she's faded away. He's getting not very much support at the moment. He almost manages to take out the hamster and does one-shot cone out. Bastion is so strong in the right position and at the right moment, and we managed to see that with Power Plug actually managing to find those 3 kills right then and there. It's looking like it's going to be Shanghai trying to actually get the final point capture here. They still haven't managed it. They still have to take out Turbo, and now his partnering Hamster. Turbo has been booped out into the pit and out of the fight for just a little bit. Cybersaurus trying to get a little bit aggressive here. Machine gun some of his enemies down. It's looking like London will take this again. No matter what Shanghai does, they just can't find anything. Even when Power Plug manages to actually get the kills and get the flanks that he's needed to get this whole time, even when they do manage to secure that, even when the enemy team is playing things like a Roadhog and a Reinhardt and a Hamster, who all get absolutely decimated by Power Plug. I had to go tell someone something, because, like, a politician asked my stepbrother if he could put a sign up, and my stepbrother said, yeah, there's just a sign in our front yard now, like, advocating for a guy we don't know. American politics is fun, by the way. So yeah, my stepdad is like, hey, what the hell's the sign doing there? And I was like, ask your son. Power plug is doing nothing, really. It's kind of a neat, sort of novel idea. They could hopefully try and melt someone if they went on the elevator, but London was too busy actually winning the fight to care about him. Wasn't able to find any value and spent so long just not being damaged and in a safe place, but he also wasn't able to do damage. Now London is still in such a good position here. Well, anyway, so I had to leave for a second, but I was still able to throw around the camera a bit, so hope someone found something good off of that. Sorry, Rodri, that I basically just missed your fucking 4K. Yeah, so many ultimates used right there. Graviton, tank configuration, and sound barrier just to keep Power Plug alive and kill the enemy team basically in their spawn. Like, it was a good kill and it was a good save, but way too many resources used to win a single fight that ultimately didn't matter that much, considering how close it was to the enemy team spawn. And yeah, now I think that we're actually done. I've let my feelings be known on the subject pretty well already, and I'm pretty sure I have to go and do something now. So I'll go ahead and link the VOD to you too. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and put it in that group message thing. I mean, you won't be able to hear this until I actually put it there anyway, so by now it'll already happened. So yeah. Anyway, bye lads.